Okay, so I'm going to make a quick video to show you what we made yesterday in class. We used the Fillet tool, we used the Revolve, and we also used the pattern. And I'm going to show you one more thing that we can do with another pattern button. We're just going to make a random shape. So I'm going to make just make a box, finish that. We'll extrude it and then call it good. So the fillet tool, which is right here, will allow us to smooth the edges a little bit. So we can click on the edge and then drag this in and out, or we could just type in a number. R stands for radius, so this curve is the radius of a circle. So the bigger the radius, the bigger the, or the less dramatic the curve. So when the curve is really tiny, it's part of a really tiny circle. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that. The next button that we're going to do is the revolve one. So I'm just going to start a new part. And for the revolve tool, we are going to make a shape. Doesn't really matter what shape, but we are going to go back to where we started. Let's go up, down, and then let's make this part narrow. Make a base. So we're going to go back to here and then back to where we started. So this is manifold. This is completely enclosed, which is what we need to do. So we're going to finish the sketch, and now what we're going to do is instead of extruding it, I want to revolve it. So it's kind of like extruding it, but around an axis. So we're going to click revolve, and we need to select a profile, which there's only one to choose from, so it selected it for us. And we do need to pick an axis. So we could pick any of these as our axis. I'm going to choose this one, and it revolves our two-dimensional sketch in a three-dimensional pattern. Okay. The next one, we're going to use the pattern button. So I'm going to start a sketch on this surface, and we have a couple different pattern buttons. I have a circular pattern and a rectangular pattern. I have a circle here, so I'm going to use the circular pattern. But before we do that, we need to have a thing that we want to pattern. So I started a new sketch on this surface, so I'm going to add a feature, like a circle. So let's add one right about there. If you find that it's snapping to a certain place, you can get rid of the snap grid. And let's try that again. And so now it's not locking me into any certain position. So I'm going to put that there. And I want this to appear all the way around the circle. So I'm going to click on circular pattern. I have to click the geometry or the thing that I want to pattern. So I'm going to click on that, turn blue. And then I'm going to click on the axis that I want to revolve it around. So I'm going to click the yellow dot. If there isn't anything in the middle, then we'll have to add it. We'll do that later on. But I can change the number, so I'm going to change it to 4. I could, if I wanted to, I could say only do this for 180 degrees. But I want it to go all the way around, so we'll do 360. Okay. So now I'm going to hit finish, and then if I wanted to, I can click on each of these, and then just like before, we can make those holes, and then click OK. So I purposefully didn't do one because this will happen a lot. You'll extrude one and then it'll disappear. So I want that one thing back. So we're going to go back to the browser, and we're going to find that sketch that we were just using. We're going to right click on it and share the sketch, and now it's back. Now I can hit extrude and make it a whole like the rest of them. Okay. So we're going to do one more pattern button. We didn't get to this one yesterday, so this one's new. We're going to make a square this time, make a rectangular object. We'll extrude it a little bit. So let's say I was going to make a flash drive holder. I wanted the flash drives to be stored on this block, and I wanted to store multiple flash drives. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a sketch on the surface, and I'm going to make, this is not the correct size, I'm just going to kind of make it look like the dimensions for a flash drive holder. So let's say this was the dimensions for a flash drive. So eventually I want to make this a hole, but I'd like to put multiple flash drives through here. And so I could, grab another one, line it up, do this, and then use the dimension tool and dimension it. But if we're doing lots of them, that's really tedious, and I don't really want to do that. So we're going to use the pattern button. And again, we're going to select the geometry. Oops, I unselected, there we go. And then we need to select a direction. Now, if you likely won't have something that you can click on, so we're going to have to add something. So I'm going to click cancel. I'm going to take a line, and we're just going to add a line to the bottom of here. There's probably a better way to do this, but this works, so we'll just go with it for now. So we're going to go back to the pattern button. Geometry, we're going to click the geometry that we want to pattern, and then now we need a direction. So I'd like to pattern it in this direction, so going to the right. So I can select the number of patterns that I want, and then how far they're spaced out. This is really small, so this also needs to be small. So let's make this like 0.2. Nope, that's not enough. Let's do 0.3. That looks about right. So now I've got 2, and they're evenly spaced. Let's add another one. So let's make that 3. And then let's add another one, make it 4. Let's make the space 0.5. Ooh, that looks about right. So I also want to take this and I want to pattern it down. So I'm going to add a line on this one, and we're just adding a line just to give it a direction. So now I'm going to hit the pattern button. I'm going to select all of these. I'm going to hit the down direction. Oops, sorry. We want this direction. Oops, I messed up there. Let's try that again. We'll do this. We're going to select everything. This is the second direction, so we've already picked one direction going that way. So we're going to go down, and then again we're going to make this, let's do 0.25. That seems to be, that's a little far. Let's do 0.1. Yeah, I like that. And then I'd like to repeat this. Let's try this 4 times. 0.1 looks a little cramped, so let's add a little bit to it. Ooh, that looks good. I'm going to hit OK. And now I've got all of my flash drive slots. So I'm going to hit finish. And now what I can do is I can extrude these, make these a hole, and we're just going to click. You do have to click them all. You have to click the ones that you want. And again, let's say I click OK. These disappear. So I'm going to go back, right click on my sketch, share it, and we'll make all of those cuts, and there we go. So obviously this was, I didn't dimension anything, but if these were all the right sizes, I now have a flash drive holder that can hold 16 flash drives. So those are the tools that we learned yesterday, plus the rectangular pattern.